Here's Brody Brazil.
I've been wanting to make a video like this for quite some time because I do think it needs to be documented. 5 ways that broadcasting has changed even since the year 2000. That's basically when I got into the industry. And you don't really notice these things from year to year, but when you look back across 5 and 10 and 20 years in some cases here, you can really see a great contrast of how things were versus how they are, how far we've come, and maybe for the better, sometimes maybe even for the worse. Let's begin with the 5 ways broadcasting has changed. The biggest thing is everybody went from tape to digital. I mean, back when I got into TV, not to be the old man here, but I had one of those beta cams over my right shoulder for hours at a time. Never really did weigh them on a scale. Like, I don't know how much they weighed. I'm assuming in the 20-pound range, but you'd be a little bit crooked for a couple days after a long shoot. And then editing on tape was a whole different challenge. That's a beta deck in your bottom right there. You needed 2 of those, a player and a recorder and an edit controller, and you were editing tape to tape. And it was hard, right? Because if you shot something on tape, there was only one copy of it. And if that copy went away, you were in trouble. Versus on digital, you can bring it back, put it in a shared drive. Everybody has access to it. Now in 2020, you can send it to a bunch of other people. More copies, it's all over the place, it's instant. But think about how archaic recording on magnetic tape was. And I know some people will say they did it on film even before that, and I fully applaud you. But we've come a long way from that to now this. That's a Sony FX3, I think, and just a laptop, an Apple MacBook Pro. You can edit on that. So everything you need, literally in the palm of your hand and in the lap of your body. It's amazing how much you can do with smaller, more capable devices these days. And you don't use videotape at all. To be perfectly honest, I think the last videotape I used in this business was around 2008. So it's been quite some time, but the transition from tape to digital was huge. Broadcasting then, when you wanted to do a live shot, you needed a microwave truck, like in your top right there, or you needed a satellite truck, like right there on the bottom of the screen. You needed a TV network to go live from somewhere. I mean, the playground down the street, your kid's basketball game, wherever. I mean, going live was a big deal. Like, it required technology, effort, resources, planning, lots of money, lots of maintenance, satellite time. Oh my goodness, all those things. That compared to like what I do here, and this is the very same remote studio setup I'm using right now here at work. I can literally broadcast from right here in high definition to a global audience using 2 Ethernet jacks. That's all I need. And it's crazy. I could bring this setup anywhere, indoors, outdoors. But the ability to go live anywhere, anytime, with only a single person, it has dramatically changed the game. There's no question about it. Okay, 5 ways broadcasting has changed. Number 3, and I mentioned it before, we're not talking about regional audiences anymore. Like when I got into TV, I worked for a small station in San Jose, KICU Channel 36. Now, it was on cable and it was on satellite, but a lot of people still watched with an over-the-air antenna. So your signal only went as far as, halfway up the state of California or, up to the Oregon border and maybe down south, just north of Fresno, and maybe out east to the Nevada state line. Maybe you got into Reno. But the bottom line is your channel, your product, everything you made was of a regional basis. It could only be shown and shared as far as the broadcast signal would go. Nowadays, thanks to, yes, YouTube, which you're watching right now, social media, other platforms, pretty much everything you make can instantly go to a global audience. I talked about going live from here. Yeah, that's very cool. But the other awesome part about it is that I can go live around the world. People can watch from Japan, from Europe. They can watch from Australia. They can literally all points of this globe. They can instantly watch live. So it's not a regional thing anymore. Broadcasting is pretty much global all the time. Okay, number 4 way that broadcasting has changed, and I'm going to say from polished to personal. And back then, look at Dennis Richmond and Elaine Corral. They were the TV anchor legends around here in the Bay Area on Channel 2. Both have since moved on and retired. But polished broadcasters. I mean, Dennis doesn't even have the coat jacket on there, but they're very, not stiff. I'm not saying that either, but there was a certain presentation that news anchors are supposed to be. And that's with anybody on camera. They looked and talked a certain way, and that honestly still does exist. If you watch the news these days, it largely hasn't changed, I want to say across the board. Some people have a much more casual approach, but from polished to personal, back then, even in the 2000s, you would talk, and I suffer from it. I'm trying to get away from it, talking like a broadcaster. Think about how personal MKBHD is. Marques Brownlee, one of the top YouTubers, love his stuff. He talks tech, and he's been doing it since he was 10, which was maybe only about 12 years ago. I don't know. But he presents in such a way that's just authentic, it's natural, it's personal, and this is what people expect here in 2022. Now, he's not necessarily a broadcaster, but I'm just saying that more people have adopted his style and what he's doing than the old way of reading off a teleprompter and being very stiff, let's just say it. Okay, fifth way that broadcasting has changed in the last 20 years. Obviously, you're watching this probably on a phone right now, aren't you? We've gone from the big screen to the small screen, and that's really not a big screen that I'm using as an example here, is it? But that's the idea, right? Is that back then, 6 people might gather around a television and watch, and everybody would be watching because it's what's on in the house. And it was consumed differently, right? If it went on TV, that was a big deal, which is different to now. So many more people are watching so many more things on an iPad or on their phone, and they're doing it at the same time as a TV, like with sports, might be on in the background. Now, I don't know how that has dramatically changed or affected my approach, but it's just to know that pretty much everything I do, a majority of the people are going to watch with something in the palm of their hands as opposed to watching on a physical big screen or television device. And I guess the takeaway should be this for me: it's more personal. They're holding your show or your live stream in their hands. It really is that personal. So 5 ways broadcasting has changed. I probably could have come up with 5 more, but I thought these were the main ones. And yeah, it's crazy to think about 20 years ago versus where we are now versus the next 20 years and what 5 more things might change until then. It's crazy to think about.